So we've got until 4 o'clock, and I'm going to cover something a little bit about the AoEC for those of you who don't know us as a company, and what you might expect from the programme, saying something about accreditation, and also what we mean by advanced coaching. And then I'll give you an overview of the diploma, how it's run, and the shape of it, and the shape of the days of the modules. And then I'll hand over to Paul to tell you something about his experience on the programme. And then any remaining questions we'll answer at the end. But as I said, do interrupt and stop me as you want to. So as a company, we're about transformation, really. That's kind of the bottom line. Transformation is a word that's used a lot on our programmes. People experience themselves transforming through the experience of being, particularly in the advanced programme, being immersed in a learning environment. And we're pretty hot on our service to our people, to our customers, and also to people who've graduated. So we have an alumni association, and we like to keep with our people and keep providing them for their needs where we can. So we're about challenge and challenging you to be the best coach you can be. We're not really interested in teaching any particular model of coaching. In fact, we're probably quite unique in that what we're about is helping you to articulate your coaching practice as a model. And anyone who's ever done our Practitioner Diploma programme will understand what that means. But for those of you who haven't, we are trying to help you to become more aware of who you are and therefore how you show up as a coach. And I can answer any questions on if anyone wants more detail on that. The advanced programme is accredited by the ICF, the International Coach Federation, the EMCC, the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. The advanced programmes, what the ICF would call PCC level. So it's, We're also interested in the whole system, the coach's system and the client's system. So we're helping you to develop your coaching practice. We're also helping you to understand the underpinnings of coaching, the psychology of coaching, and then the context of the organisation. And we're also looking at the client's system and the relationship between the coach and the client, the coach's system and the client's system. So an overview of the Advanced Diploma programme is we have 4 modules, and then we start with a day where we all come together. So we come together as a group. There'll be a maximum of 21 people. At the moment, this is going to be virtual. So that day happens in February, and we're running the current programme virtually anyway, so we know that can be done. And getting to know each other, this is a group that you will be with for over a year. So it's really important that we give time to create and develop the relationships from the outset. And then we're starting to explore together what we mean by advanced coaching. And I say we because what we're doing here is creating an environment in which everybody can learn, rather than us as the faculty team being your teachers. We're in this with you to explore lots of questions to which sometimes there is no single answer. So the first module is 3 days, and it will be in March. At the moment, it looks like that's going to be virtual as well. The second module, we start to introduce psychological underpinnings, so ideas from psychological thinking. And in module 2, we introduce ideas from the psychodynamic world. So words that you may have heard of, like projection, ego, transference, countertransference, those kind of ideas. And it's fine if you haven't heard of them, you'll understand them by then. Module 3 continues that and looks at some more ideas from psychology, some ideas from the Gestalt school of thinking, ideas from transactional analysis, positive psychology. Sometimes we introduce cognitive behavioural coaching ideas. And then module 4 is about the organisational context of executive coaching. So we look at leadership and business and how coaching as an intervention can be incredibly useful and powerful. And a typical day is this really. We start in the morning with what we call check-in time, which is a 45-minute session where we open the time to us as a group to explore together what's happening for each of us, what's happening in the group. And it's emulating any organisation. So for the time we're together, we are an organisation, if you like. But rarely in an organisation do we have the privilege of being able to really explore what's happening in the atmosphere, what's happening in the dynamics, what's happening between individuals within the organisation. So we give some time to that at the beginning of every day. Some people love that session. Some people don't like it at all at the beginning because they're not used to it. But by the end of the programme, everyone really gets why that's so powerful and important. And then most mornings will have some kind of activity around some question or something that we will input, and then you in small groups will work with. And in the afternoon, we'll have an opportunity for you to coach and be coached and observe your colleagues coaching and being coached. So we will allocate you into coaching practice groups, and the faculty also then will rotate around and make sure that over the course of the year, we've seen you and given you feedback many times. From module 2, we also have some supervision in groups, so a different group to the coaching practice group, and you experience different styles of supervision from the different members of the faculty. And then there's work in between the modules. Looks like my slides slipped a bit. There's an expectation that you'll have 6 practice clients over the year. And these are people who are not on the programme, who you have a contract with to allow you to try out the things that you're learning from the programme. They may be people that you're already working with, or you may need to go out and find 6 people over the course of the year. There's an absolute need to keep some form of learning journal. We do help you with this a little bit in that we provide some questions after each module for you to reflect on. But it's, apart from being good practice as a coach to reflect on your work, this is really inviting you to reflect on your learning, because most people experience masses of learning. There's so much that you would never remember it. So keeping a track of it and getting into the habit of keeping a track on your learning is really, really essential. You can have 4 tutorials, one-to-one tutorials with any member of the faculty you choose. And that's a 1-hour tutorial, usually virtually, sometimes face-to-face, depending where we all are geographically and whether we're allowed to move. Continuing in your coaching practice groups, we expect you to meet with each other in between the modules and carry on coaching each other and giving each other feedback. But also quite often we call it triads, but it might be 3 or 4. Quite often those groups help each other with the learning as well as practicing together. So they might share some of the books, for example. I was talking to someone the other day where her group, they've all taken a different book away to read and then come back and kind of share the contents and the learning from the book, rather than everybody reading absolutely everything. I mentioned feedback that you get from your colleagues, but also from the faculty. As well as that, you'll be allocated what we call an Icf Evaluator, and that's somebody who's graduated from the programme. And you can send over the course of the year 3 audio recordings to that person, and you'll get feedback from them, which is a great perspective, really, because they're not in the room, so they can't see you, and they can only go by what they hear. And it's a perspective which is really, really valuable. There is a reading list. It's more like a library, really, than a reading list. It's very, very long, and we don't expect you to read every book on the list at all. But the idea of the reading is that you're going to follow what interests you, follow your nose, and read around the learning that's happening on the modules. At the end of the programme, there's an assessment process. Well, it starts before the end. It's in 4 parts, and the first part is a theoretical essay. So writing about the theoretical underpinnings of your coaching practice. Now, some people are quite scared about that because they haven't written an essay since we're at school or university. We give you loads of support, and the number of people who are writing in English when it's not their first language and manage to actually do a great job of the theoretical essay shows it's doable. And also, it really helps to pull together the articulation of your coaching practice. So the program starts in February, and by the time you're writing a theoretical essay, it'll be coming to this time of the year, December. Then in the following March, you will hopefully will be doing this live in London. You will come together for a day, and in the morning you'll make a presentation of your model and your practice, and in the afternoon you'll demonstrate that coaching. Now, by that time you will have been used to coaching with other people watching, so it's just exactly the same. You're just showing us you're showing your assessor how you coach, and that you coach to the competencies laid down by all the professional bodies. Once that's finished, there's a final piece, a learning essay, a reflective essay, for those of you who've been to university and know what that means. So this comes back to that journal that we suggest you keep, because this is about your learning throughout the year and the journey of that learning. And you need to be able to kind of go back to the beginning of the year and show how their learning has progressed, for example. Before I bring Paul in, let me just check. Are there any questions at this stage, or anything you want me to say differently or repeat? Decide. The more practice you get, the more developed your coaching becomes. But so typically what people do is you know, arrange to have 6 sessions with a client over a period of 6 to 8 months, something like that. So you could have three coaching practice clients at the beginning of the year and a different 3 at the end of the year, for example. Some people use existing clients, or ask existing clients if they would be happy to for them to experiment and try out new learning. Other people go out and find completely, you know, go to their networks and say, would anybody like some free coaching? It doesn't have to be free, but a lot of people do it that way. Some people look to their workplace, and some people prefer to work with someone outside the workplace, and a mixture of all of those. So, you know, going to the local school and offering the head teacher some free coaching, they'd bite your hand off probably. Okay, Paul.
Hey. Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Paul van Gijt, and I'm in my home office in Belgium, in Antwerp, and it's freezing cold outside. I run, together with my colleague Philippe, a small HR consultancy organization, and we provide 2 services: executive coaching and team coaching. I followed the advanced program in 2013, so a while ago. And the impact has been great on myself personally and on my business. And in preparation of this conversation, I wrote down a few things that I wanted to share with all of you. First, my experience. The good thing is, usually the cohort, but it shows with the participants here, is international. And I really appreciate an international cohort. So, but apparently there are people from Greece, from Czech Republic, there are people from Italy on the call, even from Belgium, that small country. So that is typically, let's say, the setup of a cohort, and you learn a lot from there. Secondly, most attendees come also from different industries: banking, insurance, professional services, some from counseling also. And that's always a very interesting dynamic. And it gives an opportunity to learn how to coach and also to experiment with a different style of coaching. So that it's really a safe learning environment where you can experiment and also fail and learn from that failure. So I liked it a lot. And for me, the unlearning was my major challenge. Unlearning from the habits that I fell into for already many years. And I was challenged on that approach and equally supported. So there is always a dynamic balance between challenge, and you will be challenged on your approach, and the support to learn from that. And that's what I really liked. The approach is focused on active and proactive learning, meaning, as Moira said, it's not a teaching approach, it's really an experiential approach of learning. So it's all open, many opportunities. It's up to you guys to take the opportunities and learn from it. But you will be given many opportunities. The reading the books and the articles, that took more time than I thought it would take me. Because also you get so interested in the different approaches of coaching that you start to read more books and articles, but at the same time, it's, let's say, there was a squeeze with the business requirements I have at the other side, because all of you are working also. So be mindful, it does take, if you want to do it right, if you really want to learn, it does take time. So you need to allocate some time for this training. Your challenge to identify who you are, because that influences how you coach. And if you got your coaching approach more or less in the right order in your head, you're also challenged to support your approach with, let's say, research from articles that you read that you say, okay, this is supporting my approach. And you're also requested to have some critical remarks upon certain coaching approaches. So there will be coaching models that apply to you, that you feel passionate about, that you can readily apply with your clients. And there will be coaching models that do not, let's say, resonate with you well. And then it's interesting what makes that it does not resonate with you, and how can that inform you and your clients. I have a few tips, if you would like, for those who start. My first tip is, and you will not do it, I know. From the start, start keeping your learning journal. Start writing down your learnings from the first moment that you enter the first module. You will not do it. You will think you will remember it. But at module 3, I promise you, you will regret not having done it. This writing down keywords, lessons, feedback that you don't like about your style, but that informs you, that helps you with writing your reflective essay at the end. That helps you also with identifying what exactly is my coaching model, because you're required at the end of this training to present your coaching model, and in the afternoon to demonstrate your coaching approach. A second tip, the more you practice, the more it will show on the assessment day. If you, in between the modules, are able to practice a lot with clients, pro bono or otherwise, it will show during the assessment day. You will feel much more at ease, and yeah. So that's are my 2 tips. Impact, huge impact on myself. And one lesson that I learned, and it stays with me, I discovered I do not like not being liked as a coach. But the downside is that it prevented me from having impact on my clients because I shied away from the tension in the relationship. And that is a practical example of my discovering during one of those modules. And it was a colleague from Moira who made that clear to me, well, actually, she didn't make it clear to me. She just asked me questions and suddenly it popped in my head like, damn, I don't like not being liked as a coach. And what's the impact on my business and on me? Ever since this change, my, let's say, opening door, mostly in organizations, was through HR. But after following the advanced course, it became more the directors level and the executives level. And for the time being now, most of our, let's say, clients are at that level. I'm going to stop a little bit because otherwise I'm enthusiastic about the approach, but I'm open for questions, and please ask questions around whatever you want to know. I'm absolutely open to answer all of them. In my case, it was in 2013 that I followed the advanced program, which was, we were still allowed to travel without any concerns about viruses. Lovely time. So Gianluca, it was face-to-face. And one of my clients, working in a high-profile organization, a global organization, is currently following the advanced program virtually. I had her on the phone last week. She sounds enthusiastic and full of passion. She said she was hesitant whether it would work or not. I can assure you, it's that client knows the requirements of a good coaching approach. And she sounded enthusiastic. And she said to me, Paul, I'm surprised it works. So that's sharing from a different client. And at the same time, Gianluca, it's not my personal experience. I think the world has changed. And the online, it will not be only online, but you guys, if you follow this course, will be trained in the online approach, and potentially in 2021 with, let's say, a mixture of both online and potentially one-to-one, which gives you an advantage. What I would have liked up front was more insight in the amount of hours it would take me to follow the full year training. And again, I didn't, let's say, I didn't investigate in depth in how many hours will this take from me and will this be possible with my business or not. So it's also part of me. I forgot to really investigate this. It could have been, yeah, but then I'm pointing to someone else. So Andrew, honestly, that's the only thing that I thought. What I missed was, let's say, a clear overview of a structure of all the requirements. And instead of asking the AoEC to give that overview, I made it myself. I have it still here. Right. And to my knowledge, my client told me after the first module, she said, Paul, you're famous. Because apparently the AoEC is still using my overview. And I see Moira laughing, so it's still true.
Yeah.
But that, Andrew, that's also the approach. Let's say you are challenged to go proactively look yourself for what you need. And in support, I mean, they don't let you loose or on your own, but they will support you to see that you get what you want to know. My entry point changed, but also my coaching style changed from the moment that I had it clear for myself, that I was aware of, that I shied away from tension in the relationship because I was afraid to lose the commercial contract, but I was at the same time not adding real value to my clients. So the impact of my coaching interventions grew dramatically. That's one thing. As a consequence, this is word of mouth business. I got different clients, more high profile clients, and I raised my rate. I dared to raise my rate. So my course was repaid by the amount that I could raise. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Moria, sorry.
And how many clients did you lose as a result of addressing any tension in the relationship or them not liking you?
That's a good one. Zero. What I did change, Moira, is I dared to say no from the start when I felt that during the what we call the chemistry session, to get to know one another, whether I'm the right coach for him or her, and whether she is the right client for me. And that second part was new for me. I thought I needed to accept every client, and that changed. And ever since, I have refused gently a few coaching assignments. It was certainly available during the modules. There is more than time enough to ask these questions. There is also time during the checking just to raise the question. I have this question. I don't know how to approach this. Whoever has time, faculty is always approachable. And by the way, there is more than enough faculty present. So it's a large group and there is more than enough resources available. And also during the tutorials, it's, let's say, faculty is absolutely willing to support you. I have experienced them as challenging, and at the same time, there was enough support to meet the challenge.
Great.
Moira, you want to add something around that?
No, I was just going to add that there's a team of 5 of us, and there are 3 of us who are what we call core faculty. And then we have 2 assistants who are people who have done the programme fairly recently. And they come back as part of their development as well. They come back and give a year of their time doing the programme. Paul, you've done this as well.
Yeah,
as assistant
sure.
faculty.
Yeah.
So they experience the programme from the back end, if you like. And as a team, we work very closely at addressing any issues that might come up between us. So we meet every day. When we're actually face to face with you as a group, we kind of go off to a different room every evening and have quite a long meeting, and also start to look at the group and individuals and how you're progressing and developing as we go through.
And that was also a very interesting learning experience, Moira, if I may add. So if you're invited to become a co-faculty, but if you're invited, that's absolutely a wonderful experience, because as you say, you learn the same program again from the back end and in support of other students, other participants. Yeah, I loved it a lot. And because of that, I applied for the ICF to become an assessor for the ICF, which I succeeded also to be. Yeah.
In terms of availability, though, the days are quite long when we're on the residential modules. So we go from 8:30 till after dinner in the evening, 7:30, 8:30, and we're there all the time. So we're there for coffee breaks and dinner breaks and all the rest of it. Currently, the programme, as Paul said, is being run virtually. So we're making ourselves available in different ways. So anybody can pick up the phone, particularly to the 2 of us who are actually employed by the AoEC. So we're here. We're not going anywhere. So we're very available at the moment. And I just wanted to add as well, Paul, when you talked about the workload,
yep.
One of the difficulties in answering that question is that it depends on who you are and how you work. So some people read loads of books and they read them from cover to cover. Other people dip in and out of books. Some people do loads of coaching practice with their clients. Some people do some. My advice would be to keep up with the work and get into a rhythm so it doesn't become unwieldy. You know, it's manageable. And I'm sure I've told a couple of people this before, but we had one woman on the programme who was completing a master's degree at the same time. Yeah. Somebody else on the programme who was doing the Systemic Team Coaching Diploma, which is a year-long programme, at the same time. Somebody else who had just had her second baby, and she brought with her husband and the baby so that she could feed the baby in the breaks, and the husband spent his time walking around the grounds of the place. So it's manageable, even even in those situations. It's about being organized.
And it's also an example of the support and the flexibility that the AoEC offers. I do, absolutely. You're offered, let's say there are alumni events. It's a little bit up to you to actively participate, and then you get connected to those people. So it does require a little bit your investment in time. You need to be willing to connect to the alumni. But I'm absolutely actively involved in the alumni and in the wider AoEC network. But that's because I like to be connected to international. I follow what I like to do. And from there on, the pleasure and the passion comes easily.
The way I can this year is to tell you how we're doing it currently. And we kept the same pattern. So we kept the modules, 3-day modules. We kept the same timings. We start at the same time. We have loads of breaks, leg stretching breaks, and we have people paired up so that they can ring somebody as they're putting the kettle on, so to not miss out on the kind of coffee break chit chat. Everything is deliverable virtually. The thing that's missing is the something that happens when human beings are physically together in a room. That thing that I don't know what it is missing.
Yeah.
But you know, as Paul said about his colleague, I mean, I've been amazed at just how much people are getting out of the program. Because you know, if you'd have said to me a year ago, could you run the advanced program virtually, I would have said, no, it's not possible. I've been completely proven wrong. I hope we don't have to run it virtually next year. We are hoping that we use a venue called Salomon's Estate in Kent, between Tunbridge and Tunbridge Wells. And the advantage of that place is it's got big rooms. So one redesign we may choose is to, instead of having 21 people all in the same room with the 5 faculty, we may divide people into groups of 6 or 7. And each of the faculty kind of, we rotate round and you know, you'd have smaller group sessions. And that's very doable. And coaching is possible with social distancing. So we could manage it in the venue, and we will if we can. One of the things we thought about this year was, if we looked at thinking that if we could be face-to-face in September, which as it turned out wasn't possible, but when we were exploring it, we asked the group how they would feel about us having some people physically in the building and then other people who were outside the UK who couldn't travel to the UK anyway, coming in virtually. And the group unanimously said, either we all go, we're all together, or we're all virtual, let's not split the group, which I was delighted about, I have to say, because I didn't like that as an idea myself. But so, and I think we won't even think about doing that for next year. Let me just continue these slides. I just wanted to say something about assessment criteria. The first thing to say is we're not running this program to get you through an assessment. We're running this program to help you to be the best coach you can be. However, there is an assessment at the end of it. And the assessment criteria we used are based on the ICF criteria. So that you know, do go and have a great look at them, and you may know them already. If you've done the practitioner diploma, you'll certainly know them. And they're divided into these 9 categories. So we do focus on contracting with your client, but also with an organization. And some people have never done that before when they come on this program. We're looking at helping you to learn how to build rapport with the client. And also a lot of this program is about you and your presence, and you'll get feedback on all of these. You know, you'll get feedback on the kind of presence that you have, and obviously how you listen and ask questions. And how direct, so some of the stuff that Paul was talking about, you know, how direct are you in your communication? How do you address something that's perhaps less easy to address, it's maybe difficult? And how aware are you? How aware are you of yourself? And how aware are you of what's happening in the dynamic between yourself and your coach? And then how do you close a session? So how do you help your client to move on and there may be actions, there may be reflection, there may be something that they're thinking of doing next. You may have already been in contact with Mandy. Mandy Golly is my colleague who manages the programme from the kind of office perspective. So any questions, any thoughts, anything that you wish you'd have said today and didn't, please drop Mandy a line. And if you need to have a conversation with me, Mandy will organise that for us. So, thoughts, questions, comments? So the people that we typically get on the programme, sometimes they're people who've done our Practitioner Diploma programme or an equivalent, so they've already done a training. But we do get a lot of people who've been coaching for years but have never actually got a qualification, and they can't get accreditation because they've never done an accredited training programme. And the kind of process that they go through is something along the lines of, okay, I need to do a program, so I'm going to choose one that's going to stretch me. I'm going to choose one that's going to really help me to step up. Sometimes, as Paul said earlier, we get people who haven't actually been formally coaching, but they've been doing something else. So maybe using coaching skills in the way that they lead their people. Maybe they're moving from a psychotherapy background into a coaching. So those kind of things. We have an entry process which includes a one-to-one tutorial, and at that tutorial the conversation will be about, well, the conversation is about, is this the right program for you, and are you right for the program? And part of that is, have you got the right level of experience? So you can always kind of test that by going, by having an entry tutorial. We have occasionally, I remember bringing one person onto the program who had got very little experience at all in coaching, but the experience he had in other things was so enormous, and he was actually also quite young, so it was a big risk. So we had his entry tutorial, and then I sent him away to read loads of books, and which he did. He read loads, and he came onto the program. What was really interesting actually was, I remember he became particularly friendly with another person who had got loads of coaching experience, was really, already coaching at a fairly advanced level. And she could still tell you now that she learned such a lot from him. And I thought that was a lovely reason to bring on kind of people with loads of experience and people with very little, so different perspectives, and just shows that we can learn from each other easily.
I was observing this because I know when it happened. Yeah, it was fascinating to see how that young guy developed his own coaching approach and how he added value to the group. Was incredible. Yeah.